Welcome to the Road to Redemption podcast with your host, Cam Williamson. Each week, Cam sets out to shatter the labels and stigmas associated with mental health awareness by giving life lessons and raw overviews of events happening around the world.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to this episode of the Road to Redemption podcast. I'm, as always, your host, Cam Williamson. It's fantastic to be back with you, and today we're going to talk about the most popular topic of conversation post-Christmas, pre-New Year, change and how it's made. I want to make a lot of encouragements to you guys. I want to give you a lot of food for thought to think about. It may be kind of bouncy as far as the conversation goes. This one's not real structured. We're not learning anything scholastically, but we're going to talk about, I guess, all the knowledge and all the life lessons and all the wisdom that I have to offer after almost 30 years of life and how real change is made. So here we go. Let's dive into it. I can tell you, if your health is the first thing on your docket to change in the new year, starting a crazy diet or joining a gym that you already joined 50 times and have canceled the membership, when everyone else does, that's all well and good. You could do that if you have a good plan for it. I'm not going to knock that. Here's what I urge you to do instead if health is the goal for the upcoming year. Focus on a specific goal, whether it's weight loss, muscle gain, bring your cholesterol down, whatever your thing is, whatever your situation is. Everyone's is a little bit different, right? Pick a specific goal and do as much research as you can for the next week on what different type diets help with that. And I would say every 8 weeks, try something different. And in that year, you will find what your body reacts well to. That's both food and exercises. I encourage you all, going to a gym and lifting weights is great if that's your thing. But if that's not your thing and you find that you get easily discouraged or you just don't enjoy it, find something else. That's why I started kickboxing and MMA stuff 2 years ago, because I got so tired of being in the gym every single day. After being on deployments and then doing, trying to get into bodybuilding a little bit, it was just like I realized it wasn't for me because I didn't have that love for pushing iron around, right? But I did have that love for MMA, even though that's not what I wanted my career to be in. It was always a fantastic outlet for me. For people that are maybe getting older or maybe got some injuries or stuff like that, yoga is a great thing to search out. That has many health benefits, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. A lot of good stuff there. You guys know I'm a component for that. Spiritual health, if that is something that's important to you, I encourage you to I started my spiritual journey by trying to learn as much as I could about many different religions, so I could at least say that I had a common understanding of what anyone was talking about if approached with a religious belief. I learned about those things. I found all the commonalities in them, and I focused on that, which is be love to everyone around you. I'm not telling y'all to subscribe to that, but mine is be love to everyone around you. If they choose to pray to God, great. If they choose to pray to Muhammad or Allah, great. Do all those things. That's fantastic. If you want to meditate with Buddha, whatever, that's good too. I'm a firm believer in meditation, and that's going to come in later on in the conversation when we start talking about moments and how real change is made. But first, we're going to cover all the different bases. So we got physical, we got spiritual, visit different places, right? Go see different churches, go visit an ashram if you've never done that before. Take a meditation class, something like that. Take a yoga class that has some meditation in it. It's all good. You need to figure out what your beliefs are, because I can tell you it comes into every single moment in your life. Do you trust the universe? Do you feel like there's a higher power out there working in your favor, or do you feel like you're completely alone in this thing, causing you to feel like maybe the world is against you, right? Like I said, we'll talk about that too. So, financial changes, that's a big one for people. Just look at your excess right now. It doesn't have to be any more simple than that. A lot of people want to make radical changes, which is why nothing seems to stick for people a lot of the time, because we want to change 50 pounds this year. Well, that's not super realistic. Not saying it can't happen, but that's not super realistic. And we want to, be $100,000 in our savings account by the end of 22. Well, hey, if you're coming from piles of debt, no savings account, I'm not saying you can't have goals and you can't be very specific about your goals, but it's important to be realistic about them as well, because important thing about change and having good goals that are attainable is you have to kind of track them throughout and see, did we miss the mark on our aim somewhere? Do we need to maybe readjust fire and shoot for something that is actually attainable or close to attainable, so it gives me hope to keep working towards it, right? So maybe that's just breaking a big goal down into smaller goals that you focus on in the smaller amount of time. Well, that same principle is usually adopted with finances, right? So just make a goal, trim out the excess, put savings in until you have met that goal, and then use those finances for whatever the goal was, right? That's pretty simple. I think the hard part is coming in our conclusion, which is making changes and making decisions and moments. We might as well just go there now. I could tell you the hardest part about being a human being is we are all subject to the human condition, which means our life really is only in moments. So as much as we like to base everything on timelines, and this happened at this time, this year, or this is our birthday, this is what time we were born, where we were born, we care about a lot of that shit. It's identifiers for us. This is who you are as a person, because we even, make religions about it, sort of, or philosophies, which is like astrology and zodiac signs and stuff. When in reality, if you look, and I'm not knocking astrology, I like learning about that stuff as well, because I think it is all connected, the universe and who we are as human beings. But it goes down literally to a microscopic level of who you are, down to your DNA and how your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system are responding in every single moment based off every past moment, thought, and action you've taken in your entire life. Your brain is only operating on the scale of what it has previously done and survived. So right there, the baseline of that is not conducive for change. The human condition doesn't like change. It becomes comfortable and it finds out how it best survives. We're an organism that wants to survive. Well, the problem with the human condition is we also want to thrive, which means we have to push boundaries, we have to chase things, we have to change inadequate parts of ourselves to make them full and make them whole. I think it's very important to mention any change has to be wanted by the one that will be changed by it, right? So like an addiction, you can't make someone stop using or drinking if they don't want to and they have no reason to, right? Because here's the truth of the matter. If someone's choice that others don't agree with is better than their current reality, 9 times out of 10, they're going to choose that. So if going and getting high and then getting screamed at for it later is better than dealing with whatever the home situation is, people will choose to do that until maybe they go to jail and then they realize that going to jail is not worth, leaving the home situation. Okay, well, now they found the reason to not do these things, right? It's with our health, it's oftentimes not until we have a major health scare or somebody else does around us that we look at our lives and go, oh man, that's coming for me too if I don't do something real serious. But we have things like our parasympathetic and our sympathetic nervous system that during times of stress, single moments like a kitchen cabinet slamming, maybe somebody in the other room did it unintentionally, but you snapped to attention and now you're in this, what man, what's wrong with you? What? It was an accident. And you're like, I bet it was. And you're in this thing because somebody in your past, a narcissistic abuser or whatever, used to go around slamming shit when they were mad without communicating what was wrong. And now you live in this response where instead of saying anything, you just huddle down and start snacking, or you go outside and you smoke or you pour one and you drink or whatever it is. Guys, remember that 2022 is not guaranteed to be anybody's year. Change doesn't come easy, and change doesn't come just because you want it. You have to acknowledge the things in your life that are going poorly, and you have to want to change them. You then have to take the time to analyze why you make the decisions you make. What triggers those responses? Are some of them trauma responses that are super difficult to move through? Credit given to that. But then when they happen, after you acknowledge them, are you going to sit in the pocket of them, stare them down in the face, and go, this year, I'm not succumbing to that? Or today, I'm not succumbing to that. That's the way I encourage y'all to handle it. Just like sobriety, day by day. You can have a great big goal of 2022 being your year, and you can have the idea of what that looks like in your head, and I strongly encourage you to write it down and journal it and visualize it. That's all stuff you absolutely should do. But at the same token, take it day by day by day with small little individual tasks that you know you can accomplish and that you know stretch you enough to get you to where you want to be. Now, again, just because we don't hit the exact mark, well, higher power, willing, there's always next year, or there's tomorrow, or there's next week, or there's next month, and you can take that attitude and apply it in whichever way is necessary. Hey, there's always tomorrow. Hey, there's always that next hour I could get that phone call. Now, I don't advise staying in that type of mindset too long, because then you get anxious, right? Then you start falling into this fear of missing out, where if I don't look at my phone every 5 minutes, maybe I'm missing the opportunity of a lifetime. And that doesn't help us find peace. And if we're not in a peaceful state, which is what, we're going to be talking about it here in the coming future, which is like your sympathetic and your parasympathetic nervous system, and how those are 100% responsible for the decisions you make and how you make them, and how quickly thoughts and certain survival tactics can kick on, because it's important. If you're not gonna look at what is, you can never look at changing the reality you currently live in. Because people can joke and they can mock and say that the world's fallen to shit and America's over and all this stuff. Where it's like, yeah, you guys think people have never thought that before? I think right now America is just settling into who it's going to be in 50 years from now. Sure, it's chaotic, because change is always chaotic. People are getting uncomfortable, and people are being displaced, and people are being held accountable for things. And some people who would have never been seen as able to thrive or thriving, while other people who have always thrived are failing, and it goes against everything that we've ever known. And we are officially down the rabbit hole where anything is possible. Anyone can change. Anyone can get sober, and anyone can build a business that earns them financial stability for generations to come, and that can all happen without taking away anything from anyone or being evil to anyone. And we're all so hyper aware of that now. It's just navigating where the change needs to be made. And if we just adopt the idea for the entire year, tend to the part of the garden I can reach, which may be a social media presence, may be a presence in your community, maybe special projects you work on, whatever. Tend to the part of the garden you can reach, and always keep your goals of whatever it is you're working towards in the forefront, and do everything with a purpose, and that's how real change is made. But it's hard. It takes constant analysis, change, flexibility, and that goes into who we are as people. Are we willing to be that person who is who compromises, who is willing to look at themselves in a critical light, but not so critical that you defeat yourself on a daily basis and cause more mental health problems? How do we really change when our mental health is at our lowest? Which I think for a lot of people it is. Nobody really knows what's going on with the COVID stuff still 2 years later. Jobs seem unsteady. Nobody knows what's going on with the government. And I think people are really scared, but I think people are also hopeful in what their own abilities are and what their own future could look like, regardless of all these old systems and structures we had in place. We all talked for so long about how they were wrong and they needed changed and things needed to go and new things needed to come in. Well, now it's happening and people seem to be freaking out just because of what? Change, because it's uncomfortable. We'll take that as a big scale zoom in on your own personal life and see where you're maybe doing that yourself and go, whoa, am I making a big deal about nothing? Is this just change? Could this be good change and I'm just uncomfortable? And I heard a great quote one time, uncomfort does not mean unsafe. So being uncomfortable does not mean you're unsafe. Constantly check. My dad used to say something in sports, there's a difference between being hurt and being injured. If you're hurt, that means you can, man, that hurt. Fuck, I got hit by a pitch. Ow, that fucking hurt. Ow. If you're injured, that means you can't play. So I need to know, if you're laying on the ground, you better be injured. You can't play. If you're hurt, you better take that ass over to the bench, and then you can assess what's going on there. But don't lay on the ground and make everybody worry about you if you're going to get up and you know you're good. You know, just an attention-seeking thing. It all comes into just being honest with yourself. Not searching for sympathy where sympathy is not needed. That's just pure self-accountability. I can't tell you how many times I've given in to old habits and old ways of being just because I felt bad for myself. And I know other people will too, because life is hard, right? I'll give you that validation right now before 2022 even starts. Life is hard. It's hard as shit. And if you don't take control of your life, it's going to beat the fuck out of you because you're going to let it. Because you won't develop a routine that you make, that you agree with, that aligns with your goals, your wants, and you don't allow yourself to change that daily if needed. Which means what? You're going to keep living for everybody else, getting the same shit you've always got. Not in 2022, you're not. Not with my help anyway. I love y'all so much. It's been great hanging out with you, and I'm going to see you on Wednesday. Love you. I hope you had an amazing Christmas.